They're privy to top secret information. They're privy to back channel conversations. They're not supposed to use their insider knowledge, but they have it, and they do.
Congressional trading is back in the spotlight after this month's tariff turmoil.
We saw about an 11% gain in the S&P 500.
Some individual companies might have seen a 30% turnaround in just one day. I think people earned a lot of money on that day.
They can make their trades and buy and sell and make their profits long before anybody else knows about it.
MarketBeat's Thomas Hughes dives into the congressional moves over the past few weeks.
She bought a lot of different stocks.
But could there still be gains left to make for retail investors who are watching and maybe following these moves as they become public?
The market was down significantly when these trades were being made.
What can you learn by following the money in Washington? Let's dive in. Thomas, there has been a lot of money lost in the market over the past couple of weeks, and a lot of money won in the market if you knew how to play it right. And some people certainly did. We're going to get to that in a minute, but let's just talk about how big of a swing we saw in the market just last week.
Yeah, it was on Wednesday the 9th, the day after the retaliatory tariffs were announced. The market opened with a big loss. Midday, the tariffs were paused, postponed, and the market did an about face, and we saw about an 11% gain in the S&P 500 from the low to the high. Closed with a gain for the day. It was a very big move. Technically speaking, it was very interesting because the low of the day, the market had just barely touched a very critical support target, which for me marked the bottom of a trading range. And then coincidentally happened to about face from that point that very same day, and we've been kind of in rebound mode ever since.
Yeah, this is a swing the market has not seen in a long time. And that 11% is just the average. Some individual companies might have seen a 30% turnaround in just one day, which feels almost unheard of in the market. And if you had the right money in the right places, I think people earned a lot of money on that day if you were one of those people buying before this announcement was made. And some people got the announcement to buy from Trump himself. Let's talk about that post a little bit.
He tweeted something about now is the right time to buy, and then later that day he made his pause announcement, and the market about faced, right? So it certainly looks like he was signaling to people or giving people a signal. Certainly could have been taken as a signal by anybody in the market. It was certainly well disseminated and well reported, and it seemed to be a pretty good buying time.
Yes, and some people bought then, including some lawmakers, but so far only one has reported, and that's what this video is all about. I think there's been a lot of talk recently about which lawmakers may have profited in the last couple of weeks, but we won't really know that full answer for a while. Let's talk about the rules with congressional reporting.
Congress members have to report their trades. They can't just go trading willy-nilly using insider knowledge, but they don't have to report for 45 days. So we won't even know who actually did the buying and selling on the 2nd, on the 3rd, on the 9th, over the last 2 weeks until the middle of next month. And by then it won't really matter anymore because by then we will have talked about the few people who have reported, which so far right now is really only one person.
Yeah, let's get to that person. She's under some scrutiny right now because of all of the trades. But hey, let's hand it to her. Marjorie Taylor Greene was really good at reporting those trades in a very timely fashion. We found out right away the trades she made just last week, and there's quite a few of them.
Well, I would say that goes in her favor, that she didn't hide them or didn't try to wait till the last minute. She was very upfront and said, hey, I bought these stocks. And based on what I see, you can nitpick different names, but she bought a lot of different stocks. She bought them in small amounts. She bought them over the course of different days. And it looks to me like an opportunistic buying spree by a person who we already know to be a prolific trader.
Yeah, she certainly does make a lot of trades, and they are in that smaller range, that $1,000 to $15,000 range. And that's kind of the range that Congress has to report, which is a pretty wide range. You can learn more about the rules around congressional trading by watching our video all about congressional trading, how it works, why it's legal, and a little bit of the past controversy over this issue. But right now, that's the law. Congress has 45 days to report. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the only one to have reported, and she made some really big gains, especially on some of the stocks that were impacted by tariffs, like Nike, Lululemon, and RH2. Those stocks saw a huge turnaround on the 9th when that tariff pause was announced.
Yeah, but in most cases, those turnarounds were very short-lived. RH popped, but it's back down to where it was. Nike again is trading back about where it was. Both of these companies have been under pressure for a very, very long time. They've had issues that supersede Trump, supersede tariffs. They've been struggling with growth for a very long time. To me, the tariff announcement was just the straw that broke the camel's back. In the case of RH, this market capitulated. It dropped 40% in one day. That's a huge, huge loss. Um, really, to me, it's unrealistic based on this one piece of news. But when you look back over the last 3 or 4 years, the company has struggled with growth, struggled with margins, struggled with relevancy, hasn't really been getting anywhere. And now tariffs just caused the market to say, hey, I'm done with this stock. It's time to get rid of it.
Stocks have really reacted to each announcement just over the last couple of weeks, but we don't have that data from most Congress members yet. But we do have some data for just before the tariffs were announced. There was a lot of reporting coming in about buys or sells that happened right before April 2nd. Let's get into what we learned about some of those trades when the market was already considerably down before the tariff announcements really came in.
Well, right. Just to touch base back with those reporting rules, there have been very many Congress members who have reported trades since April 2nd, since April 9th. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the only one to have reported a trade since then that was made since then. So we have members on both sides of the aisle in the House and in the Senate who did a lot of trading in March and did their reporting the first week of April. What we see is a lot of selling by Democrats, fair amount of selling by Republicans, but also buying on both sides. Republicans were doing more buying, but on both sides of the aisle, what it looks like is a lot of repositioning. We see both sides selling some similar names, buying some similar names, buying some similar sectors. And so to me, it just looks like a lot of repositioning in anticipation for these tariff moves. And now, like we've said before, we'll just have to wait and see what they did after the tariff moves to make some comments about that.
It will be interesting to see 45 days later what kind of reports we get from members of Congress. You can count on us to follow up with another video once we actually have some of that data. I think that the frustration for investors is learning about these trades when it's too late to make any moves themselves. You want to gain some insights from what these lawmakers are doing who might have a little more information than the average investor out there about these policy changes that are clearly impacting the market in some really big ways. So let's talk about what stocks back in March, the ones that we know about, were the members of Congress really buying or selling the most.
All right, stocks that were getting bought include names like UNH, United Healthcare, Johnson and Johnson. We have several people buying Palantir, Boeing. We've got some purchases of Home Depot and Lowe's. We've also got quite a few purchases of chip stocks, ASML. We've got Nvidia. We've got AMD. Also, analog devices. So we've got a pretty broad-based view of the market here with these buys. Shows a pretty good amount of confidence in the economy at large. But again, with the selling, there's spotty weaknesses here and there, and we just kind of have to watch out for those.
Yeah, I think with the names you mentioned, it does make sense with just some of the shifts that were happening in the whole market as people were starting to know tariffs could become a reality, which industries could get impacted, and those changes were happening even with members of Congress portfolios, along with many Americans' portfolios. But some of the names that they pick there, especially those bigger Mag 7 names, they went down when the tariffs were first announced on April 2nd, and they had a little bit of a rebound again on the 9th. Is there still room to grow? I want to talk about that a little bit. If you are somebody who likes to follow what trades Congress is making, can you still have any gains yourself if you look at some of the names these members of Congress are trading?
Yo, I would say definitely because the market was down significantly when these trades were being made. We've been in the depths of a correction since like February, basically. And this correction is based on a market reset, a reset of the outlook. Now, that reset is being driven by tariffs and policy uncertainties, but right now the outlook is still for growth, revenue growth, earnings growth. Both of those things funnel down into capital return growth. So right now the market is looking at growth and capital return growth. So the uptrend really is still intact on a secular basis. We have some headwinds in play right now. The tariffs, policy uncertainty, they're going to keep volatility elevated for the foreseeable future. But I would have to say that unless the long-term outlook deteriorates and we go from a growth to a no-growth environment, the S&P 500 is more likely to set a new high this year than it is to extend the sell-off any deeper.
Yeah, you can watch a full video where Thomas shares his rebound prediction for the stock market later this year. Check that after you've watched this video too, to hear more of Thomas's thoughts on a rebound coming in the S&P 500 later on yet in 2025. Thomas, let's get back to kind of the sideways movement that we've seen in the market just the last couple of days after that recovery. We haven't really gained a lot of ground. I'm wondering specifically how much more ground is left to be made for people who might be considering buying right now.
Well, I think that there could be a considerable gain to be made. Now, let's look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is the single most important stock in the market. All right. It's not the most valuable stock anymore because of the correction. Apple's regained its position as number one by market cap. NVIDIA is still the most important because it's the most widely owned. It's got the whole AI thing going for it. It's leading the market in terms of AI. And let's have reset their expectations. That reset has impacted the price action, but they still continue to see at least a 50% upside for this stock, which means it will set a new high, a significant new high. If the S&P 500 follows and sets a new high as well, that would be an important technical signal that could mean a 15 to 20% gain from the current all-time high, which is about a 20 to 25% gain from where we are right now.
Yeah, still gains to be made for those who are looking to buy right now. I know if you did buy before that announcement on the 9th, you definitely had more gains to be made, but there's still room to grow. And I think that's an important message for investors who might be hesitant or looking to buy right now to consider. If you are still closely following AI stocks, check out this free premium report on MarketBeat.com right now. It's 7 AI stocks to invest in today, still relevant no matter what's going on in the market. You can scan the QR code or click the link in the description of this video to get that free report on MarketBeat.com and take a look at that list too. Let's just talk a little bit more about NVIDIA and the fact that this stock, before that announcement on the 9th, was back down below $100, something a lot of us didn't see coming anytime for this stock.
Oh no, I sure didn't see it coming. I had just, invested some of my my SEP money a week or two before that drop, and when it happened, I was kicking myself. I should have waited for another week.
I think a lot of people would have loved to be buying NVIDIA, and some people did, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, right when it was at one of its lowest points. And I think we'll learn more in the next few weeks of how many other lawmakers also bought in when some of these stocks were at their lowest point. Why do investors, let's just end this with maybe talking about the obvious a little bit, but why do investors get so upset about the congressional trading issue? It's not a new thing. Investors have been angry over this issue for
Uh,
years, and we talk about it on this channel quite a bit.
because there's so much room for abuse. They have laws, they're supposed to report, they're not supposed to use their insider knowledge, but they have it and they do. And because they don't have to report for as long as they do, it means that they can make their trades and buy and sell and make their profits long before anybody else knows about it. And once we find out about it, it could be too late. And it could be worse than too late. It could be the wrong time to buy. And that's just not a good thing.
Yeah, and I think there's also an issue with enforcement. We might have this law, but some call it more of like a Band-Aid law, or really a law that doesn't do anything because no one's really ever been charged for insider trading who's in Congress. It's not a law
Right.
that really has no teeth.
Because how do you prove it? Because they're privy to top secret information. They're privy to back channel conversations. They do have access to knowledge that we don't have.
Yeah, that's the issue, and that is why we keep talking about this on this channel because so many investors care about it, get a little heated up about it, and I think this situation, simply because of all of the big swings and the amount of money that could be made, has many investors calling for some investigations right now. We'll see if that comes to be, and we'll continue to follow it as more lawmakers report the trades they made during the last couple of weeks of tariff turmoil in the market. Thomas, thanks for sharing your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you, though. Let us know what you think about the trades you saw members of Congress making, not just the last couple of weeks, but maybe the last couple of months. Are you one to follow the moves they make? And how does it make you feel? We want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, everyone. As always, happy investing.